guys, I painted his belly button guard red, and this is just Tamiya flat red, and then I distressed it with some aluminum here and added on Citadel Ryza Rust. It's a dry brushing stuff. I'm going to show this again later. And then I painted the scabbard here JGSDF green, or sorry, brown, and painted all the buttons gold so they look like this nice brass, and gave them a wash of, what's this stuff called here? Anyways, it's another Citadel wash. What is it? Helica oxide. It's meant to be a copper oxide wash. So it's obviously had this a while, and they've all started to oxidize over. And then I added a brown wash, Tamiya enamel brown wash on it, and dry brushed some light colors on there. And I think it looks quite good. I'm quite happy with this. So this is just sitting over here on the side. And so then yesterday I spent a long time working on his face, and I'm actually quite happy with it. It's not perfect as I'd like it to be, but to be honest, I've come quite a long way, I think, in how I thought I could get it to look. And it's mostly just been trial and error work again, which is why I haven't been recording much or anything. But the next step, I think, is to paint all of this, everything, basically the rest of his head, silver. And so I'm going to go do that in a minute. But what I want to show you guys here is I have all these paint brushes sitting on the side, and I'm just going to show you guys how to make one of these. It's really simple to do, and that is a quick step paint stand, just to keep all your brushes in order. And all you need is a piece of cardstock like this. You don't even need that big of a piece. So all I'm going to do is just cut. This is just a few inches wide, like so. So I got this nice rectangle, and what I want to do is fold it in half. Okay, and this is super simple. So if you screw it up, you can just make another one. And now all you have to do is, once it's folded in half, just make these quick V-shaped notches in it. You can make them kind of as big or as small as you want, depending on what brush you have. Again, this is super easy to do and super disposable if you need a new one or you ruin one. It doesn't matter. So let me just cut these out here. Just clear this up. And then you just unfold it. There you go. That is your super easy and quick paint stand. And if it starts to sink down a little bit more, you just put some tape on one side and make a triangle brace on it, and you're good to go. So now I can just keep this on the side, and when I need to, I just grab my paintbrush, put it back, and I'm good to go. So there you go. That's how you make just a quick and simple paint stand. And I actually have one. I made this a couple months ago, and I actually use this quite a bit. So helps out a lot more than you think, because usually I just keep all my brushes on the side, but that's not good because then the bristles get damaged, and that sucks. So now they're up in the air like that, they can dry, and I can just easily grab them instead of having to reach and scour around my paintbrush bucket trying to find the right one. So like I said, yeah, I've painted his face. I gave him these white teeth, and then I gave him this yellow shade again from Citadel. It's not really yellow, it's kind of orangey. And I gave him a gold tooth. I saw that on someone else had painted an ogre, and they gave him a gold tooth, and I just thought that was so funny. I just really like that. So yeah, he's got this one tooth that's gold at the top there. You can't really see it, so I think I'm going to add another layer of gold, actually I think I'll use a brighter gold for that. But yeah, really fun to learn how to use these paints and to learning how to thin down the Vallejo paints. So like on the torso here, the torso is not quite done yet. But what I did, one of the last things that I did is I painted on him just the basic skin tone here. I just painted highlights of this on him, and you can just, very subtly see it, and I quite like that. So when all this stuff goes on him, it looks quite nice. So let me just show you guys here. Oh, what do you think? I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm actually just having a lot more fun. This took me about an hour and a half to paint. I was just having so much fun. I just didn't care. I was just having a ball. But yeah, the face is taking me a little while longer, but like I said, now I'm going to paint the silver on there on all the chainmail and everything else on them, so it's going to be quite a bit of work, but it's going to be fun in the end. So yeah, if you need to make a quick paint stand, man, I cannot speak this week. Yeah, this is just how you do it. Just make a quick one and simple one out of some mold cardstock, and you're good to go. Alright everybody, I finished the head, I think. I think I finished his head. I'm quite happy with it. Again, my camera is not going to pick up on all these details, so I'm going to try and point him out as best I can. He's got kind of this Genghis Khan mustache that, swoops down on either side. I painted that black. Highlighted it with a little bit of gray on there. Yeah, and then I painted, this has been kind of the hard part, was figuring out how to paint his helmet and all that jazz. So the chainmail is going to be silver, but I also painted some areas metallic brown. The idea behind that is he would, damage his armor, and he would just grab patches of somebody else's chainmail, and somehow he would incorporate that into, repairing his armor. So he's just got these little bits in there I quite like. I did fix the gold tooth. I made it a little more golden. I used one of these P3 colors. It's brighter. Yeah, and then I painted his helmet metallic gray. I think it looks quite nice. Painted everything else silver, and then painted metallic brown on top of it. Gives it a nice copper effect. Then the last thing I did was the panel line wash out of with Tamiya there, and I just painted that all over the place, and I quite like what's happening. As it's drying, it's becoming a lot darker, which is what I really wanted, and I was really having a hard time figuring out how to get. And I also went ahead and pulled off a bunch of the black on the red pieces here on his chainmail, but I think I might do it again. It still looks a little too dark. I'd like to keep that kind of a bright red. He's got red pieces in metallic gray. I think those are going to be kind of my colors, with the bronze as well. That's going to be kind of my trio. And again, the general thought is, he may have started out with a club or something, even, just a piece of wood, and then he would advance and keep collecting pieces and stuff. So here's his arms. They're all painted silver, just flat aluminum. And what I'm going to do is just paint these red and then scuff them up, because I quite like this scratched red look. I might paint a couple pieces in there. The metallic gray, like maybe his elbow pads here would be metallic gray. And then again, just painting in a little bit of that metallic brown, because, yeah, he pulled it off of who knows where. And then just give it a overall wash. I think it looks quite nice. And so here's the other one. Got to do that on as well. So he's not too fancy. I'm refraining from using a lot of rust. Every picture I seem to look at, for like reference material, it seems to have two things in common: either blood or rust. And I don't mind it. I actually, in some instances, quite like it. But for me, for this one, I don't want to do it. I'd rather have the rust on the other guy when I get to him. So I'm gonna go and finish painting up these other pieces here. Alright everybody, so here's the thing. It is like the hottest day of the year thus far. It is super, super hot. It got to 30 degrees. Hasn't been that hot yet. Actually, Nanton felt hotter by just a little bit, but I think that's because it was a tarmac. So, I haven't been building this guy for the past week, so I don't quite know where I was last. But anyways, I've painted the rest of the body, pants and stuff, and painted it blue, gave it a highlight of some light blue, and today I finished painting the boots. They're just, what is it, oops, what color is that? For the fur, I use dark yellow, XF60. It's a typical color you use on German armor. And then I gave it a wash and highlighted buff on there. And I painted the boots this kind of leathery, dark iron color, and painted these red nubs on there. So I quite like it, and I think it turns out pretty well. The only difficult thing is the stand, because he didn't come with a display stand, so I had to make one. I'm going to use this biscuit tin here, and I primed this and painted it black, and I've just drilled this hole in it here. So what I'm going to do is take this screw here, and here. So I'm going to leave that in there. I drilled a hole in the bottom of his foot, and now I'm just going to screw it in there and mount him down like that, maybe with a little super glue on the other foot. That should, that should do it. What else is there to say? Oh yeah, I'm gonna make a base. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm about to do with that, how to make the base and all that stuff. Because I gotta get rid of this, raised section here, so I'm gonna use some epoxy on that. And I think what I'm gonna do pretty quick here is give them a coat of future. Because he's metal, it doesn't quite adhere as well as you'd like it, so I've been accidentally scratching him here and there and adding little touch-ups, which isn't too bad. But the next step is his hand and weapon. I'm not exactly sure how I want to paint these things. That's been kind of my biggest thing recently is how do I want to paint this. I could paint it just this nice silver. I'm kind of looking at painting the inside here a dark gray, metallic gray, gunmetal, something like that. And then maybe painting all these little spikes here like silver or something, So he's got this piece of something. You don't know where he got it from exactly. But then he just adds these little spikes on there and, he sharpens those down. And then wherever he pulled this off of, I'd kind of like to do this in a different color, but like I said, I'm not exactly sure. And then I'll just paint his hands and armor and the rest of his, rest of him basically the same. This will be red and a bit of gunmetal on there, and then the same thing with the chainmail, and then paint his hands. I'm looking forward to painting his hands, actually. I had to do it a third time cleaning them. They had some pretty nasty seam lines on them, but I got them. So I'm quite happy with that. And yeah, that's actually about it. I just need to basically gloss coat everything and protect the paint so I can give it a flat coat when I'm basically done here. But yeah, with the model show I had to do other stuff as well as work, so this is finally my time to catch up on this guy. So like I said, I'm going to go start on this here, and what I'm going to do for holding it down, I'm going to actually just clamp it like this. That way I can just keep painting, and then when I'm done, I'll just prime this really quick and paint up the wood, and I'll be set to go. So I'm going to go and play around with colors and then show you guys. And then, yeah, biggest part is going to be building and decorating the base plate there, because that's where a lot of, that's kind of where you make or break a model is with textures and dioramas. And so for me, that's what I really want to do, is have something really nice when you're, looking at this. So I've got a couple things in mind I'm going to try out, and I think it'll work out pretty well. So yeah, let's get some more painting done. Okay, I'm gonna make the base here. What I've gone ahead and done just recently is I coated. I don't actually want to touch them, but they're just right over here. I coated all the parts with Future, and I'm thinking about giving them a second coat just keep it, that much more secure. Um, and I also went ahead and started painting the weapon here. Kind of put together weapon. But I'll get into that in a little while. So what I'm going to use here is green stuff. This is made by Citadel, and it's a two-part epoxy, and I quite like this stuff. I like it a bit more than the Tamiya stuff, but I think that's because the Tamiya stuff I have dried out a little bit. So it probably still is pretty good, but I just don't know it yet. But I'm just going to cut, I think I only need about maybe half of this stuff here. And I did do a tutorial on this before, but for the heck of it, I'm going to just do it again. So it comes in this kind of light green and blue here. I have a bowl of water. You need to keep this stuff wet, and when you're mixing it up and stuff like that. So all you do is you just knead it together like this. Let me just move this water bowl over here so I can show you guys. And basically, I'm just going to keep twisting it. And then it becomes sticky. When it becomes sticky, you just wet your hands, and away you go. So you just keep mushing it all up together here until it becomes this nice solid green color. And I think I might, maybe not, maybe I will have to make a bit more of this stuff. So, important thing is to keep your hands wet, and you can even dunk this stuff in water just a little bit. Don't soak it in there, but you can just, and that won't ruin this stuff. But yeah, as long as you keep your fingers wet, it's gonna be just fine. So I'm slowly getting there. Most of it's folding and just working it in. So I think that's about the consistency. There's a bit more blue than there was green into this batch, but I think that's about as far as I'm gonna get. So what I'd like to do here is press it out, make it flat. I am gonna have to make more. Yep, definitely gonna need more. Yeah, that's barely even gonna cover it. So yeah, you can see there's way more blue than any other color in this. This will just take me a short while to do, so I'm going to go knead this up here, and I'll come back once it's all completed here. I think I'm going to have to make more of this, even with the batch that I just mixed up here. But anyways, I'm just going to show you guys what I'm going to do with this stuff here. So I'm actually just going to place it down. In particular, I want to cover up any of the embossed pieces there. So I'm just going to press down on it like this, and maybe this will be fine. So I'm just going to kind of press around the edges like this. I don't really care how, fancy it looks. I don't really want it to be perfect, circular shape. I kind of like having this mismatched pattern here. I'm going to take my fingers, wet it down. This is going to help get rid of some of the finger marks on here. You don't really have to worry about your fingerprints, because those can easily just be sanded down when this stuff dries. And most likely, with me, it's just going to be, painted over and covered up in dirt and dust and grass effect anyways. So, here we go. So the last thing I want to do is punch a hole in it. Just like that. Doesn't have to be. There we go. So there I've got my screw, I can keep that. And that's about it. So now the thing is to just sit and let this stuff dry. Since this is a fairly big batch, it's going to take a little while longer to dry, but it's fairly thin. If I was sculpting something like, let's say like a hand, you might want to let that dry for, like a day or two to let it properly cure and whatnot. But when it's thinner, you don't as much have to worry about it. But still, probably want to just for the safety of having it, uh, not accidentally making new holes and indents and whatnot. But so far, this looks pretty good. And again, I like having this uneven, shape of it. And what that's going to do when I have the figure, I can't touch the figure right now, but it's going to have it kind of look like it's just this piece, instead of something specific. So I'm going to go and now paint up the weapon here. Painted this gunmetal. I've decided to paint this metallic brown. I'm going to add a bunch of that oxidized copper on here, make it really look ugly and really worn out. And yeah, I'll see where I get to from there. Painting. I'm gonna paint all these little spikes here silver. I think I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then add some rust onto those. That'll be kind of cool. So I'll show that in a little while. But as for now, that's Games Workshop green stuff. I quite like this stuff. It's very, 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 very nice material. Again, I keep it in this little Rubbermaid container, and you have some paper foil, and I'll just show you guys this. You just dunk it in the water, like so, and this is just wax paper. Dunk it in there, place it on top. Well, actually what I did is I drained out a lot of the water before, so it's just moist. And there, it'll keep this stuff from drying out. Keeps it nice and hydrated, so whenever I need it again, I can just go ahead, mix it up together. But you usually need to, dip your hands at least in water, even the pieces in water, because you're actually squeezing out a lot of the moisture, which is what keeps this stuff, from drying. You're basically drying it out as you're kneading it together. So keep a bowl of water close by, and it's fairly easy stuff to do, and the results are very, 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 very worthwhile in my opinion. So I'm gonna go ahead and get back to painting this. Alright, I painted the hands and the weapon. Quite happy with how it all turned out. And yeah, not really much to show and talk about with this one. Added some rust onto this end here, added the oxidized copper effect down there. That's basically it. I think the hands turned out pretty fair. Got to play around with that quite a bit and experiment with that. So what I really want to get to is the epoxy here, where green stuff has dried. And now I need to add some texture. And for that I'm going to use Tamiya diorama texture paint. This is pretty cool stuff. You may have seen this around the internet a few times, or even in your hobby store, and wondered what it's all about. It's pretty cool stuff. And this is snow. I had to borrow this from my brother because they didn't have the stuff I wanted in the store. But it's kind of the same thing, and since it's white, I can easily just paint over it. But what it is it's a paint. It's a texturized paint, and it's very, very cool stuff. I'm going to just use my spatula here to scoop out a bunch. And it kind of looks like sugar mixed with butter. And you just spread this stuff on, like so. So I'm going to basically push it as far up on the green as I can. And out of all these texture paints that they have grass, they have mud, they have sand, they have 2 different types of snow. It's quite a few, even pavement, which I was surprised is really cool. The only one I haven't actually liked the look of is the grass. It looks like lawn clippings You know, when your lawnmower bundles up all the wet grass. That's what it looks like. So I didn't really like that one. Just gonna clean this off here. But everything else, all the other ones were very nice. I was very surprised by pavement. I saw that being used in a video, and it really looks like pavement. It's pretty cool. Don't know exactly what I was expecting, but the end results were a lot better than what I had thought. So this snow stuff is really nice. It's pretty easy to clean too. What my brother usually does with this is he just gives it a gloss coat of Future, and that protects it from yellowing. This stuff I don't think yellows, and it's very easy to clean it up after you dust it because it is this kind of you know, I don't know what to call it, gooey texture. It's not like baking soda. I know some people have used that. I think my older brother once used shaving cream, and there's been a big thing going around with a lot of modelers is how do you make snow, how do you make it look good, and the other one is how do you use a product that doesn't yellow or that bugs want to eat. I know that's been kind of an issue over the years. So I'm just gonna flatten this. So when this dries out, I'm going to take my flat earth, I think it's FX53 if I'm not mistaken, 52, I am mistaken. I'm just going to paint the whole base flat earth, and I'm going to paint the green, I'm going to paint the snow, I'm going to just do the whole thing flat earth. It's going to look pretty good, I think. And then I'm going to add another layer on top of that. So that's this texture snow stuff. Like I said, the only one I didn't like was the grass because it looked like wet grass clippings. But you might like it, you know, to each his own. Not saying there's a right or wrong one for that. And what else is there to say? Not much. I'm gonna go let this dry. I don't know how long this will take to dry. This green stuff is cured overnight, so I'll wait and see how this goes. And the last thing I'm gonna do here is just poke a hole in the bottom. There we go. Don't want to lose that peg. Okay.